Do you think I'm lying? The glass of milk teetered at the edge of the white marble table, trembling slightly with every step the man took. His shoes were expensive, real Italian leather, but they sounded loud in the silence, like they didn't belong in this moment. He stopped walking, looked down at her, and said nothing. The girl's hands were clenched in her lap. Her sweater had holes in both elbows. Her eyes, big, brown, and terrified, locked on his face. I said I'll pay you back when I grow up, she whispered. Her voice cracked near the end. I promise. The man stared at her for what felt like an hour. His jaw was tight. The air between them was thick with something unspoken, something dangerous. Then, slowly, he reached into his jacket. Her eyes widened. Was he pulling out his wallet? No. He pulled out a pen. Not a checkbook. Not money. Just a sleek black pen. And then he said, "What's your name again?" "Jasmine," she said, barely audible. "Spell it." Why was he writing it down? Was this some sort of cruel joke? Her stomach growled so loud it felt like a betrayal. He clicked the pen closed. Then, without breaking eye contact, he knocked the glass of milk off the table. It shattered. The milk spilled across the floor like a broken promise. And all he said was, "You want something from me? Prove it." What happened next changed everything. Not just for her, but for him too. And it all started 3 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday afternoon nobody thought twice about. The cold was getting in through the holes in Jasmine's shoes. She sat on the curb outside Greenmont Elementary, hugging her knees to her chest, pretending she wasn't waiting for anyone. Kids streamed past her, laughing, yelling, complaining about homework and cafeteria pizza. She didn't say a word, didn't make eye contact. There was no point waiting for her mama. Mama didn't come anymore. 3 months ago, she used to. Jasmine would see her little blue uniform coming up the hill, waving a hand with cracked red knuckles and a cigarette tucked between 2 fingers. Now Jasmine just walked home. Or sat, like today, waiting for the school to close again so she could sneak back in and finish the math packet Ms. Hill gave her. She didn't have anywhere to do it at home. Not since the heat got shut off and the lights went dark. Jasmine had just turned 9. She didn't tell anyone. There wasn't a cake. There wasn't even a candle. Just a dusty can of peaches she'd found in the back of the cabinet and eaten straight with a fork. But today, she was hungry. Not the kind of hungry you whine about in the afternoon, but the kind that made your legs feel hollow and your vision go a little fuzzy if you stood up too fast. She'd had half a packet of saltines and 2 ketchup packets for lunch. She made the ketchup last. There were no peaches left. She watched the line of cars picking up kids with juice boxes and after-school snacks. One of the moms, a woman in a gray BMW, handed her kid a Chick-fil-A bag through the window. The boy was still chewing as the door slammed shut behind him. Jasmine's stomach groaned again. She couldn't ask Miss Hill for more. Not after last week, when she already gave Jasmine a peanut butter sandwich and told her, very softly, that it was just between us. Her coat didn't zip up all the way. The zipper broke last winter. A bus wheezed by. Jasmine watched it go, then got up and started walking. The walk home was 22 minutes. She counted them. The neighborhood changed block by block. First came the cracked sidewalks and yellow grass. Then the fences with peeling paint. Then the buildings with sagging porches and taped-up windows. She passed the liquor store and the empty lot where kids sometimes set off firecrackers just to feel something. Her building didn't have a lock on the front door. Inside, the hallway smelled like boiled cabbage and bleach. The kind of smell you never get used to. She climbed the stairs, 3 flights up, and let herself into the apartment. She kept the key hidden behind a loose brick. No lights. She moved by memory. There was a man sleeping on the couch again. Not her stepdad. He was gone, but someone else. Jasmine didn't know his name. She just tiptoed past him, careful not to make a sound. Her room was really just a corner with a curtain across it. The mattress sagged. She sat down and pulled the curtain shut. Then she waited and waited. There was no food, not even saltines. That night, the hunger made her bold. She thought about the rich part of town, the one with clean sidewalks and cars that looked like spaceships. She'd been there once, when Mama had a cleaning job in one of the big houses. The fridge had been taller than Jasmine and full of food. Not just food, fancy food. Stuff with names she couldn't even pronounce. She remembered the milk, cold and white, the way it clinked in the glass. She remembered thinking, it must be nice to drink milk whenever you want. So the next day, she didn't go to school. She took the bus going the other way. She watched the buildings get taller, cleaner. She held her breath when they passed the jewelry store, and again when they passed the street with all the flags in front of perfect little lawns. And finally, she got off on a street she didn't know the name of, in front of a house that didn't look real. The house was gray stone, all angles and windows. A black gate wrapped around the property. Jasmine stood in front of it for a long time. Then she walked up and pressed the intercom. The voice crackled. "Who is it?" She swallowed. "My name is Jasmine. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm just really hungry. I only want a glass of milk." Silence. She waited. "I don't have any money," she added quickly, heart racing. "But I swear I'll pay you back. When I grow up. I promise." Nothing. She almost turned to go. Then, click. The gate buzzed open. And that's when things got strange. Inside, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Jasmine was halfway to the front steps when the door swung open. A man stood there, tall and broad, in a shirt with sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked like someone from a movie. She blinked up at him. He didn't smile, didn't frown, just looked at her like he was trying to figure out what she was. "You want milk?" he said. She nodded. Her voice was stuck somewhere in her throat. He opened the door wider. "Come in." And just like that, Jasmine stepped into a world she didn't belong in. She had no idea what he was about to ask her, no idea what she'd have to prove, and absolutely no idea that this man, this cold, quiet man with money falling out of his walls, had once been just as hungry as she was. But that wouldn't come out for a long time. Not until everything else broke first. Not until she gave him a reason to care. The man led Jasmine through the front door without a word. Her shoes made no sound on the tile floor. She was too scared to walk normal, so she kind of floated, careful not to touch anything. The house was cold, but not broken cold like hers. More like the kind of cold that comes from air conditioning and silence. Everything inside looked expensive, but not lived in. The walls were tall, white, and bare. No pictures. No shoes by the door. No clutter. Just space. Lots of space. He walked into the kitchen without looking back. It was the biggest kitchen she'd ever seen. White counters, silver fridge. It even had one of those islands in the middle she'd only seen on cooking shows. She stood by the doorway and waited. The man opened the fridge. Inside was everything. Rows of vegetables, glistening bottles of juice, meat in shiny wrapping. A carton of milk sat on the top shelf. He pulled it out. Then, slowly, he grabbed a tall glass and filled it halfway. "Sit," he said, not kindly but not mean either. Jasmine hesitated, then climbed up onto a stool at the island. Her knees shook a little. He set the glass in front of her. She stared at it. "Go on." She picked it up with both hands and took a sip. Cold. Smooth. Perfect. She drank half the glass in one go. When she finally came up for air, she realized he was still watching her. "You don't look like a liar," he said. She blinked. "But you might be." Jasmine frowned. "I'm not," she said quietly. "I said I'd pay you back." He raised an eyebrow. "How?" "I don't know yet. But I will. When I'm older. I'll get a job. Maybe two." He leaned on the counter, arms crossed. "You came all the way here. To ask a stranger for milk. Most kids would steal it. Why didn't you?" She didn't answer right away. Part of her wanted to lie. Say something clever or cool. But she just shrugged and said, "Because I'm not a thief." He looked at her for a long time, like he was weighing that sentence. Like he was looking for cracks in it. "You hungry?" She nodded. He opened a cabinet and pulled out a granola bar. Tossed it on the counter. "Eat." She unwrapped it fast, trying not to look desperate, but she could feel his eyes on her. Watching. Measuring. "What's your name again?" he asked. "Jasmine." He took out a pen from his shirt pocket and clicked it open. "Spell it." She paused. "Jasmine." He wrote it on the back of an envelope. "Last name." She hesitated. "Henderson." He wrote that too. "Where do you live?" That made her nervous. She lowered the granola bar. "Why?" "Because you just walked into my house and said you'd pay me back one day. If you're serious, then I need to know where to find you." She hesitated. "You're not going to call anybody, are you?" He didn't answer that. So she lied. 124 Maple. Apartment 3. That wasn't her address. It was close, though. Close enough she could remember it without getting caught. He nodded. Then, without warning, he knocked the glass of milk off the counter. It shattered on the floor. Milk splashed onto her shoes. She jumped. Her heart thudded. He leaned in. "You want something from me? Prove it." The words hit like a slap. Jasmine stared at the puddle on the floor, confused, embarrassed, angry. I did prove it, she said, voice tight. I came all the way here. I asked you instead of stealing. He didn't move. That proves you're brave. Doesn't mean you're honest. Doesn't mean you'll pay me back. I said I will. He didn't flinch. Then he reached behind him and pulled something out of a drawer. A small, black book. He opened it, flipped through a few pages, then set it in front of her. Inside were names. Dozens of them. Each one next to a date. Some with check marks. Most without. What is this? She asked. People who said they'd pay me back. She scanned the page. Most of the names were scratched out. He tapped the page. If I add yours, and you're lying, I'll know. Jasmine stared at him. She felt like she was being tested, but didn't know what the test was for, or what happened if she failed. He added her name anyway. Jasmine Henderson. 7/16. Then he handed her the pen. Sign. She took it. Her fingers trembled a little, but she signed under his writing. There, she said. He took the book back and slid it into the drawer. Don't come back here again, he said. Her stomach twisted. What? I don't give handouts. But I gave you a chance. You took it. That's it. She didn't know what to say. Her body was still warm from the food, from the milk. But now her chest was heavy with something cold. She slipped off the stool. He walked her to the door, but didn't open it. Right before she stepped out, she turned back and asked, Why did you let me in? He looked down at her, and for the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Not softness, but memory. Because someone once gave me a glass of milk, he said. And I never paid them back either. And with that, he shut the door. Jasmine stood on the porch for a long time. She didn't know she was crying until she tasted salt on her lips. She didn't go home right away. Instead, she walked. Past the gate, down the sidewalk, back toward the bus stop. She thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. Because the next day at school, something strange happened. A black car was parked out front. A driver in a suit. And Ms. Hill was waiting at the entrance, looking straight at Jasmine with an expression that didn't make sense. And then she said 4 words that changed everything. You've been requested, Jasmine. Jasmine froze. The driver didn't say anything. He just held open the car door like this was normal. Like it made perfect sense for a 4th grader in scuffed sneakers to be picked up in a black Lincoln with tinted windows. Ms. Hill stepped closer, kneeling slightly. He said your name, Jasmine. First and last. Told me you'd know who he was. Jasmine didn't answer. Her brain was racing. Her chest was doing that tight, fluttery thing again, like when you hold your breath underwater for too long. I didn't tell him anything, Ms. Hill added gently. But I called the number on the card he gave me. I needed to know it was real. What did he say? Jasmine whispered. Ms. Hill glanced at the driver, then lowered her voice. Said he offered you something. Said you agreed. Said you signed your name. Jasmine's face burned. She looked down at her shoes. Are you in trouble? Ms. Hill asked. She shook her head quickly. No. I don't think so. Ms. Hill hesitated, then looked her in the eye. You don't have to get in that car. Jasmine swallowed. I know. But she did. She knew she had to. Not because she was scared. Not exactly. But because she'd signed something. Because he looked her in the face and said prove it. And she wasn't going to be the kind of person who backed down. She climbed in. The door shut with a quiet thump, sealing her into leather seats and silence. The car pulled away. Jasmine sat stiffly, hands clasped in her lap. The driver didn't speak. Just drove, calm and steady, as the city shifted outside the window. It took 26 minutes to get to his house this time. When the gate opened again, Jasmine felt the same heaviness in her chest. But she didn't hesitate. She climbed out, walked up the steps, and rang the bell. The door opened almost instantly. He was there. Same rolled-up sleeves. Same unreadable face. He didn't say hello. Just stepped aside and let her in. Why am I here? Jasmine asked. He didn't answer right away. Just led her down the hall, past the kitchen, into a room she hadn't seen before. It was an office. Bookshelves lined the walls. Neat. Organized. A desk stood in the center with a glass top and a single lamp. No family pictures. No clutter. Just space and cold light. He pointed to the chair in front of the desk. She sat. He sat across from her. Then, finally, he spoke. You told me you'd pay me back. Jasmine nodded. I thought about it, he said. And I decided to give you the chance. Her eyebrows pulled together. A chance. He nodded. To earn what you owe. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. What do you mean? He leaned back slightly. I don't need money. But I don't give things for free. That glass of milk cost you something. Even if you don't know what yet. Her heart thumped. I can't work, she said quickly. I'm 9. He didn't smile. I'm not asking you to work. I'm asking you to learn. She blinked. Learn what? He pulled open a drawer and took out a folder. Slid it across the table to her. Inside was a printed sheet. A schedule. A contract. She read the first line out loud. Apprenticeship program. Jasmine Henderson. Duration, undetermined. What is this? She asked. It's a deal, he said. 1 hour after school. 3 days a week. You show up, you listen, you learn. I teach you everything I know. Money, business, people, how the world works. You keep your promise. You earn your glass of milk. Her hands trembled slightly as she turned the page. But why? She asked. Why me? He didn't answer for a long time. Then, finally, he said, because I've met hundreds of people who say they'll pay you back. Only one came to my door and asked for milk. Jasmine sat still. Her mouth felt dry. Her brain felt full of fog. And if I say no? He raised an eyebrow. Then you'll owe me. And I always collect. She flinched. But not because she was afraid. Because some part of her, some sharp, stubborn part, wanted to say yes. Wanted to prove she wasn't a name on a list that would get crossed out. She looked at him. Okay. He nodded once. You start Monday. He stood. So did she. And just like that, she was back in the car. The driver didn't say a word. The whole way home, Jasmine clutched the folder in her lap. She read the contract 3 times. She traced her name with her finger. Jasmine Henderson. Apprentice. The sun was setting by the time they reached her block. Before the car door closed, she turned back to the driver. What's his name? She asked. The driver hesitated, then said simply, Mr. Langston. That night, Jasmine didn't sleep much. Because now she owed something. And she had no idea what Mr. Langston really wanted her to become. Monday felt like walking into someone else's life. Jasmine woke before the sun. She brushed her teeth with water from a bottle and used a comb to flatten her curls as best she could. She put on her cleanest shirt, a wrinkled navy one with a tiny bleach stain near the collar, and checked her backpack 3 times, even though she wasn't packing anything for him. At school, she couldn't focus. Numbers swam in front of her. She reread the same paragraph in her history book over and over. Miss Hill caught her daydreaming and placed a soft hand on her shoulder, but didn't say anything. At exactly 3:07 p.m., the black Lincoln was waiting out front again. Jasmine climbed in like she belonged there. She didn't, but pretending helped. Mr. Langston met her at the door again. No hello, just a nod. He led her back into the office and motioned to the chair across from the desk. A leather-bound notebook lay on the table with a pen clipped to the front. That's yours, he said. It stays here. You don't take it home. Jasmine opened it. Blank pages. Clean. Untouched. Why can't I take it home? She asked. He leaned forward. Because home is distraction. This, he tapped the desk, is where you work. She didn't like how that sounded. Work. She was 9. This felt like a trap in nice clothing. But she nodded anyway. Today's lesson is simple, he said. We're going to talk about value. Jasmine took the pen in hand and waited. He didn't start with numbers. Instead, he walked to the bookshelf and pulled down a shoebox. Worn, dusty, taped shut at the corners. It looked completely out of place in the sleek, clean office. He set it on the desk. Open it. Jasmine hesitated. She peeled the tape back carefully and lifted the lid. Inside were old things. A crumpled photo. A bent quarter. A name tag that said, Langston, Assistant Night Shift. A cracked watch. A single, folded piece of paper with creases so deep it looked like it had been folded 100 times. Jasmine looked up. What is this? My box, he said. Everything in there is worthless. And everything in there is priceless. She pulled out the quarter and turned it over. It's just money, she said. He shook his head. It's the last coin I had before everything changed. What changed? He didn't answer. Just nodded at the paper. Read it. She unfolded it gently. It was a utility bill. Overdue. Shut-off notice. Dated 15 years ago. The amount due, $41.89. She looked up again, confused. That bill, he said, was the day I learned no one was coming to save me. No family. No friends. Just me. That's the last time my lights went out. He didn't blink when he said it. That's when I decided to become someone who never needed to ask for help again. Jasmine lowered the paper. He stepped around the desk and sat on the edge in front of her, folding his arms. So tell me, he said, What's your value? She flinched. What? You want me to teach you? Good. But you have to know what you're worth. Or someone else will decide for you. She looked down at the notebook. The pen shook in her hand. I don't know, she whispered. Figure it out, he said. That's your first assignment. You come back Wednesday with an answer. She swallowed hard. Like what I'm good at. He raised an eyebrow. Like who you are? What makes you different? Why someone should bet on you? It was too much. Too big. Jasmine nodded just to end the conversation. He stood and walked back behind the desk. I'll know if you lie, he said, as casually as someone commenting on the weather. When she got home that evening, her mom wasn't there. Again, the man on the couch was, though. Jasmine stepped over him like he was furniture. In her corner, behind the curtain, she pulled out a crumpled notebook and tried to write an answer. What's your value? What do you bring? What makes you different? She stared at the page until it blurred. She didn't cry. She just stared. Wednesday came, and she walked into Mr. Langston's office with her head high. He looked up. Well, she handed him the notebook. It only had one sentence. I keep my promises. He read it. His face didn't change. Then he closed the notebook, and he said 5 words that cracked something inside her. That's not enough. Not yet. Jasmine felt it like a slap. What do you mean? He folded his arms. You want to be more than the girl who begged for milk? Then be more. Go deeper. What makes you dangerous? She didn't understand. He did. That's when he showed her the file. He pulled open the drawer on his left and took out a manila folder. Opened it slowly. Slid it toward her. Inside was a printed sheet. Her school attendance. Her test scores. Even a photo of her house. Her building. Her apartment number. Her mother's name. Her father's name. The one she never told anyone. Jasmine stared at the folder in shock. Her heart stopped beating for a second. How did you? I don't like working blind, he said. If I'm going to invest in something, I need to know the risk. Her hands balled into fists. You spied on me. I researched you. You had no right. He didn't flinch. I had every right. You came to me. You said you'd pay me back. I'm making sure you're someone who can. She pushed the folder off the desk. The papers spilled everywhere. Is this a test too? She snapped. No. This is your reality. You don't get to hide from it. She stood, shaking. I didn't ask to be tested. No one does. She stormed out. Past the black car. Down the front steps. Through the gate. The tears came later. Not at the bus stop. Not on the ride home. But in bed. Behind the curtain. That was the first night she thought about quitting. But she didn't. Because deep down, behind the hurt and rage, something else had started to grow. Not pride. Not anger. Something sharper. Something that said, he doesn't think I'm ready. But I will be. Jasmine didn't sleep the night after she stormed out of Mr. Langston's office. Her brain wouldn't let her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the folder. Her life spread out in black ink like it was a file at the DMV. Cold. Clinical. Measured. Like he could sum her up in a few bullet points and one blurry photo of her front door. But it wasn't the invasion that kept her awake. It was the question. What makes you dangerous? The words wouldn't leave her alone. They echoed every time the fridge clicked on. Every time the man on the couch mumbled in his sleep. Every time the wind slipped through the cracked window and brushed the side of her face. She wasn't dangerous. Not in any way that mattered. She was small. Poor. Forgettable. But something inside her, it didn't want to stay that way. So by morning, she made up her mind. She was going back. Not because she liked Mr. Langston. She didn't. Not because she wanted his approval. She didn't think she'd ever get it. But because she hated the look on his face when he said her answer wasn't enough. Like he expected her to break. Like he wanted her to. So that afternoon, after school, she got in the car again. Didn't say a word to the driver. Didn't fidget. Just sat with her jaw clenched and her fingers folded tight over the notebook in her lap. When the gate opened and the car pulled in, she opened the door before it even stopped moving. She walked to the front door, rang the bell once. He opened it. She didn't wait for an invitation. She marched in, straight to the office. She sat down in the chair across from his desk and set the notebook in the middle. He didn't speak. He sat down slowly, folded his hands, and looked at her. You're back. I never said I was quitting. A pause. You left angry. I came back ready. He didn't blink. Let's see it. Jasmine opened the notebook herself this time. She flipped to the new page. The one she had rewritten 5 times, each time messier than the last. She slid it across the table. He read it. It said, I know how to survive things that would kill most people. And under that, I know how to keep going when there's nothing left. And under that, I know what it's like to want something more than food. Silence. He didn't look at her. He just read it again. Then slowly, deliberately, he closed the notebook. And he stood up. Jasmine's heart beat faster. Not from fear this time. From something else. He didn't say anything for a few seconds. Just looked down at her like he was seeing something different now. Then he spoke. You're not dangerous yet, he said quietly. But that answer is. She didn't know what that meant. Not really. But she felt it land deep. He walked over to a different shelf this time. Not the books. A black box. He opened it and pulled something out. A key. He set it in front of her. What's this? Locker, he said. At the downtown public library. Second floor. Back wall. Number 213. Jasmine stared at it. What's in it? Your next lesson. Why not just tell me? Because I don't waste time on people who wait to be told what to do. She took the key. It was cold in her hand. He sat again. Then, almost casually, that file I showed you last time? That was one of 3. Her chest tightened. There's more. There's always more, he said. The difference is what you do with it. Jasmine felt like the ground had shifted under her feet. This wasn't just about paying him back anymore. This was bigger, scarier, and somehow more exciting than anything she'd ever felt. He slid the notebook back toward her. Friday. Same time. Bring what you find. She nodded. And then, for the first time since the day she'd walked through his gate asking for milk, he said her name not like a teacher calling roll, but like a man making a deal. Jasmine. She looked up. Yeah. His voice was low. Don't let what you've been through make you small. She didn't know what to say to that, so she didn't say anything. She just took the key, walked out, and started planning what she'd do when she opened locker 213. The library smelled like paper and old wood, and the kind of silence that expects you to whisper. Jasmine had never been here before, not really. Once for a school trip in 2nd grade, but that had been a blur of name tags and juice boxes. This time, she came alone. She kept her hand tight around the key in her pocket as she stepped through the glass doors. The woman at the front desk gave her a polite smile. Jasmine nodded and walked past, trying to look like she belonged. Like she'd done this before. Like she didn't have duct tape on the inside of her left shoe holding the sole together. Upstairs. 2nd floor. Back wall. Locker 213. The hallway was narrow, lined with metal lockers stacked 2 high and 4 across. Jasmine stopped in front of the one marked 213. The key fit. She turned it. The lock gave with a click. She opened the door. Inside was a manila envelope. No label. No name. She took it, shut the locker, and sat cross-legged in a quiet corner between the reference shelves. Her hands shook slightly as she opened the flap. The envelope was full. Not with money. Not with another contract. With photos. Printed photos. Real, glossy ones. She pulled the first one out. It was a younger Mr. Langston. Thinner. Less polished. He was standing on a cracked sidewalk in front of a liquor store, wearing a name tag and a work vest. His face looked like it had forgotten how to smile. Behind him in the photo was someone else. A girl. Maybe 18 or 19. She was laughing. Full, wild, unbothered. Her hand was on his shoulder. Jasmine frowned and pulled the next photo. More shots of the same girl. Sometimes with him. Sometimes alone. A few with other people. All of them looked like they belonged to a different world. Cheaper, louder, Messier. Then, at the bottom of the stack, a note. Folded once. Written in looping, sharp handwriting. You promised you'd never forget her. You said you'd change the world for her. You built your empire without her anyway. Just know, I kept the originals. No name. No date. Jasmine's breath caught. She stared at the pictures again. The girl with the wild laugh. She wasn't just someone from his past. She meant something. You could feel it in the way she looked at him. The way he kept her in these photos, hidden in a locker like a secret too loud to burn. Jasmine tucked the photos back into the envelope. Her stomach twisted. He hadn't wanted her to see this. Whatever this was, it wasn't a lesson. It was personal. She stood up slowly, walked downstairs. Her reflection caught in the glass doors as she left the building. She didn't recognize herself. Not because she looked different, but because, for the first time, she was holding something that gave her power. And power was a very dangerous thing. Especially when you're just a girl who asked for milk and got handed a man's past instead. The car was waiting. She didn't get in. Not yet. She stood on the curb, staring at the envelope like it might explode. When she finally slid into the back seat, she didn't look at the driver. "Take me to Mr. Langston's," she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands, buried in her coat, were clenched into fists. He was going to explain. He had to. And if he didn't? She wasn't sure what she'd do. Only that whatever came next, she was no longer the one without leverage. The house looked different this time. Not on the outside. The stone walls were still clean and pale. The windows still blank. But something about it felt smaller now. Or maybe Jasmine felt bigger. The car rolled to a stop in the circular driveway. She got out before the driver could even reach for the handle. She didn't wait at the front door. She rang the bell once, then twice, then again. Hard. The door opened. Mr. Langston's face was unreadable, as always. But his eyes flicked immediately to her hands. He knew. Before she said a word, he knew. "You went," he said. "Yeah," Jasmine said, stepping inside. She brushed past him, straight into the office. He followed, closed the door behind them. She dropped the envelope onto the desk like a weapon. "Why did you hide this?" He didn't move to open it. He just stared at it. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said finally. "No kidding." He sighed and walked to the desk, but didn't sit. He stood on the other side, looking down at the envelope like it was something alive. "You think you found something big," he said. "I did find something big," Jasmine snapped. "Who is she?" Mr. Langston didn't answer right away. Then he said, flat and tired, "She's the reason I don't believe in promises." Jasmine flinched. "What happened?" "She died." The words dropped like bricks. Just that. No story. No explanation. Just she died. Jasmine opened the envelope and pulled out the photo again, the one with the girl's hand on his shoulder. "She looked happy," she said softly. "She was," he said. "Until she wasn't." "Was she your sister?" "No." "Your girlfriend?" He didn't answer. Jasmine stared at him. "Why did you keep these?" "I kept them to remember who I was before I decided feelings were a liability." She blinked. "That's messed up." "I know." Silence stretched between them. Then she asked, "Did you love her?" His jaw tightened. He picked up the photo, held it in both hands. "Not like a keepsake, more like a warning." "She believed I could be something," he said. "And I did become something. Just not the version she believed in." Jasmine swallowed hard. "So why show me the locker at all?" "I wanted to see what you'd do with it." She stared. "You wanted me to find this?" "I didn't expect you to. Not yet. But you were curious." "That's good." "No, it's not," she snapped. "It's twisted." "You're learning," he said. "You used to ask for permission. Now you kick down doors." "I'm not trying to be like you," she said. He finally looked her in the eye. "That's exactly what you're doing." "I'm not," she shouted. "You are," he said quietly. "And that's why I chose you." Her breath caught. He walked back to the window, folded his arms, spoke like he was somewhere far away. "She was better than me. She wanted to change things. Help people." I laughed at her for that. Jasmine's throat felt tight. "You laugh at me too." He didn't answer. "Are you trying to turn me into you?" she asked. "So I don't end up like her?" He turned around. Finally. "No," he said. "I'm trying to turn you into something stronger. So no one else turns you into something you're not." Silence. She hated how much that made sense. But she also hated him. And herself, a little, for still showing up. "I don't want to be dangerous," she said. "Yes, you do." Jasmine shook her head. "I just wanted milk. And now you have truth." She stepped back from the desk, the photos still spread out. Her face was burning. "I came here because I thought this meant something," she said. "That I mattered. That you saw something in me." "I did." "No," she said, voice cracking. "You see a project. Something to control. That's not the same." Mr. Langston studied her carefully, and then he said the thing that cut deeper than all the rest. "If you want kindness, Jasmine, you knocked on the wrong door." Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she held them back. She stood tall. "I don't need kindness," she said, "but I do need respect." And then she picked up the envelope, stuffed the photos back in, and walked to the door. Just before she left, she turned back. "You said the girl in those pictures believed in you. I think that's the part you hated the most." And she walked out. The door clicked shut behind her. This time, she didn't cry in the car. She just stared straight ahead and made a decision. She was going to finish what she started. But it wasn't about proving anything to Mr. Langston anymore. It was about proving something to herself. Friday came heavy and gray. Rain spat at the sidewalks like it was mad at the city. Jasmine didn't bring an umbrella, didn't wear a jacket either. She didn't care. She almost didn't get in the car when it pulled up outside school. But she did. Not because she wanted to see Mr. Langston. Not after what he said. Because she wanted him to know she wasn't afraid to come back. This time, she didn't sit quiet in the back. She sat up, leaned forward, eyes fixed on the road. Like she was coming for something, not just to something. The gate opened. The door opened. Same routine. He was waiting in the office. Same shirt. Same posture. But something in his face had shifted. Less steel. More stone. She stepped in and didn't sit. He raised his eyebrows. Standing today? I don't plan to stay long. He gave the faintest shrug. Suit yourself. He reached under the desk and pulled out a folder. Yellow this time. He slid it forward. Your next assignment. I'm not doing it, she said flatly. He looked amused. You haven't even read it. I don't care what's in it. You said you'd pay me back. I said I'd learn. And I did. I learned you don't care about people. Just outcomes. He smiled, thin and sharp. And what's wrong with that? I'm not you, she said. I don't want to be. He nodded slowly, like she'd confirmed something he'd already guessed. Then he tapped the folder. You'll still take this one. She narrowed her eyes. I just said I won't. This one's different. Jasmine crossed her arms. Why? Because it's not about me. It's about your mother. That stopped her cold. Her breath hitched. What? He opened the folder. Inside were papers. Printed court filings. A photo. A police report. I told you I had more files, he said. Her heart was already racing. Her body was ahead of her brain. She stepped forward. Looked down. There was a mugshot. It was her mother. Jasmine's throat closed up. What is this? She was arrested 6 months ago. Shoplifting. Second offense. The charge was dropped, but the court flagged her address. That's when they started keeping tabs. He tapped the next page. A CPS report. Your name came up. Jasmine's head started spinning. Why are you showing me this? Because the system's closing in, he said. And when it does, you won't get a warning. Just a knock on the door and a car waiting outside. I already know all this, she shouted. I live it. No, Jasmine, he said. Calm. Too calm. You survive it. But you don't control it. Her hands were shaking. She didn't even try to hide it. So what? This is supposed to scare me into doing your next lesson. No, he said. This is your next lesson. She blinked. What? He leaned forward. Voice low. Steady. You want to protect your mom? Protect yourself? Then you need to understand how the world actually works. Not just the rules, but who gets to bend them. Who looks at a report like this and sees a statistic, and who sees a human being. She shook her head. I don't need help. You need strategy. I'm not letting you use her. I'm not. I'm giving you the one thing no one else ever gave her. A plan. He slid another sheet across the desk. It was a map. A neighborhood Jasmine recognized. Not hers. The next one over. A red circle around a building. What is this? A nonprofit with legal resources for families like yours. I know the man who runs it. I helped fund it last year. If you walk in there with this report and that letter, he pointed to a typed page, they'll help. Quietly. No spotlight. No case number. But you'll have to speak for your mother. You'll have to take charge. Jasmine stared at him. You're giving me a choice, she said, suspicious. I'm giving you power. She looked back at the folder. At the photo of her mom. Eyes red, mouth set in a tired line. Her mom had tried. Even when she couldn't show up at school anymore. Even when the cabinets were empty. Even when she disappeared for nights at a time, she tried. And Jasmine had hated her for it sometimes. But she still loved her more than anyone. This wasn't just a task. It was a test. Not of loyalty. Of will. She picked up the folder. Didn't say thank you. Didn't say anything. She walked out of the office, down the hall, out the front door. When the driver asked where to go, she didn't pause. Parkview Legal Aid, she said. The man nodded. She looked out the window as the city passed by. She wasn't doing this for Mr. Langston. She was doing it for her mother. And maybe, just maybe, for the girl she used to be. The one who thought milk could fix everything. The waiting room was quiet and full of bad lighting. A flickering fluorescent bulb overhead buzzed like a mosquito stuck in glass. Jasmine sat between a stack of faded magazines and a poster about housing rights that nobody ever seemed to read. She held the folder on her lap like it was a bomb with a ticking timer. She'd never been in a place like this without her mom. Usually, her mom did the talking, mumbling through forms, explaining away things with too many sorries. But this time, her mom didn't even know she was here. And Jasmine was alone. The receptionist glanced up. You said Mr. Finch is expecting you? Jasmine nodded. I have the letter. She handed it over. The woman scanned it, blinked, then stood. 1 second. Moments later, a man in a maroon sweater stepped into the room. He had silver hair and eyes that looked like they'd seen 1,000 tired people before her, but not one like her. "Jasmine?" he asked. She stood. "Yes, sir." He offered a hand. She didn't take it. He raised an eyebrow, then gave a small nod of respect, and said, "Right this way." They walked into a narrow hallway and into a small conference room. There was a single chair on one side of the table and 3 on the other. He gestured for her to sit. She did. He sat across from her, pulled the letter back out. "This came from Victor Langston?" "Yes. He said you'd bring more." Jasmine slid the folder toward him. He opened it. First, the mugshot, then the CPS report, then the list of missed court dates. She watched him read, each one carefully. No rushed glances. No sighs. He finally looked up. "You know most people don't come in here alone, right?" "I'm not most people." He smiled faintly at that. "She's your mother?" "Yes." "Why now?" Jasmine's voice was low, even practiced. "Because nobody told me before that I could do anything about it." He nodded. "You know, we usually talk to the adult first." "I'm not waiting." More silence. Then the door opened again. A woman in a blazer walked in and sat beside him. She glanced at Jasmine, then at the papers on the table. "Client's child?" she asked. "Client," Jasmine corrected. "I'm the one asking for help." The woman opened her mouth, probably to say something polite and patronizing, but Jasmine kept going. "She's not going to ask. She's tired. She doesn't think help is real. But I do." The woman blinked. Mr. Finch folded his hands. "So what exactly are you asking us to do, Jasmine?" "I want to set up a protection plan," she said. "I want someone to help her clean up her record. I want the CPS watch removed. I want her to have a fighting chance if something goes wrong again." Finch didn't respond right away. "You've been coached." "No," Jasmine said. "I read everything in that folder 3 times." "And what do you want for yourself?" Jasmine hesitated. "I want to be left alone," she said quietly. "I don't want to be pulled into some system that thinks I'm broken because I'm poor." Finch looked at her for a long time. Then he pushed his chair back and stood. He walked to a cabinet and pulled out a form. Standard intake. But then, he tore it in half. The woman next to him jumped. "Finch." "No," he said. "She's right. We make things harder than they need to be." He sat again. "What Victor sent, that gets attention. But what you said, that gets action." He looked her dead in the eyes. "I'll help her. We'll review the charges, request the flagged files, and submit a cleanup motion for the CPS case. Quietly. You'll stay off record. But if I do this, you show up again. With her. Next time." Jasmine nodded. "I will." He extended a hand again. This time she took it. It felt different now. Not like he was doing her a favor. Like they were equals. Or at least close. By the time she walked out of that building, the rain had stopped. The air smelled like pavement and possibility. She didn't take the car home. She walked. All 40 minutes. Because her head was too full to sit still. Because her heart was doing something it hadn't done in a long time. It was believing. But when she got home and opened the door, her mother was sitting at the kitchen table. Alone. And shaking. She looked up with red eyes and said, "What did you do?" Jasmine's stomach dropped. "What?" Her mother stood, stumbling a little, holding something in her hand. A letter. From the city. Stamped with a notice. "Why are they offering me legal help?" her mom whispered. "Why now? Why would they suddenly care?" Jasmine couldn't speak. Her mom took a step forward. "Did you go behind my back?" And in that moment, Jasmine realized something brutal. Saving someone who doesn't believe they can be saved, that's not noble. It's war. The letter lay between them like a weapon neither one wanted to pick up again. Her mother's hands were trembling. Not from cold. From fury. Or maybe fear. The two looked the same on her. "You don't do things like this," she said, voice low and sharp. "Not without asking me." Jasmine stood frozen in the doorway. Rainwater dripped from her sleeves onto the linoleum. "I had to," she said. "No, you didn't. You just wanted to feel important." "That's not fair." Her mother's face twisted. "Fair? You want to talk about fair? You think dragging some rich man into my mess is fair?" Jasmine felt her stomach flip. "I didn't drag him in. I went to him. I asked for help. And what does he want from you in return?" "Nothing," she lied. Her mom saw it instantly. She let out a bitter laugh and turned away. Walked to the sink like she couldn't look Jasmine in the eye. "You think I don't know how men like that work? They never help without keeping something." Jasmine's jaw tightened. "He didn't make me do anything. But he let you, didn't he? He watched you beg. I didn't beg. You went to his house for milk, Jasmine. That landed like a slap. Her throat closed. Her mom turned back around. Slower this time. And the fury wasn't gone. But underneath it, something else was breaking through. Grief. She was crying, but not loud. Just that silent, shaking kind of cry that looks like a person's bones are giving out. Jasmine had only seen it once before, when her mom found out her sister died in prison. A letter. No warning. Just a folded piece of paper that changed the room forever. I didn't want this life for you, her mother said, voice like wet paper. I thought I could hold it together just long enough for you to not turn into me. I'm not turning into you, Jasmine said, quiet. Yes, you are, her mom said. You're already carrying things no kid should. They stood there like that, across the kitchen, across the years between them. I didn't tell you everything, her mom said after a long silence. Jasmine didn't speak, didn't breathe. Her mom wiped her face, sat down at the table again, tapped the corner of the letter with her chipped nail. That arrest? 6 months ago? That wasn't the second one. Jasmine blinked. What? It was the fourth, she said. Jasmine's knees nearly gave out. Her mother went on. 2 were when you were little. You don't remember. I kept them quiet. Got off on technicalities. But they're still there, Jasmine. And this last one, they only dropped it because I gave them something in return. Jasmine's mouth felt dry. What do you mean? I told them where someone else was hiding. What? Who? Doesn't matter. Just someone from back when I was stupid and broke and making fast friends with bad people. Jasmine stared at her, stunned. You snitched. I survived, her mom snapped. And you don't get to judge me. Jasmine stepped back like she'd been hit. But now I've got a target on me, her mom said. People find out I talked. I'm not just broke. I'm dead broke. And you? You're the kid of a rat. Jasmine couldn't move. I was trying to protect you, her mom whispered. No, Jasmine said. You were protecting yourself. Her mom didn't deny it. Just leaned forward, hands gripping the edge of the table. So you tell your rich friend to stay out of it. No more letters. No more favors. If I go down, I go down my way. But you won't be the only one who goes down, Jasmine said. They'll take me, too. They'll come for me. Her mom's eyes filled again. I know. Silence. Then Jasmine's voice, small but shaking. Why didn't you just tell me the truth before? Her mom's voice broke for real then. Because once you know who I really am, it's harder to love me. Jasmine looked at her mother, the worn-out hands, the too thin arms, the eyes that hadn't slept in weeks, and for the first time in her life, she saw not just a woman who was tired, but a woman who was terrified. She didn't say I love you. She couldn't. Not right then. She just turned and walked to her room, pulled the curtain closed, sat down on the sagging mattress, and opened the notebook Mr. Langston gave her. Flipped past the page where she wrote, I keep my promises. Past the page that said, I know how to survive things that would kill most people. She found a blank one, and in the center, she wrote, I don't know who I am anymore, but I know who I don't want to become. And then, beneath it, in smaller letters, I think that's the first real answer I've written. The next morning, before the sun came up, she went to Langston's house. No driver, no invitation, just her, alone, at the gate. She rang the bell. When he opened the door, she didn't wait. She looked him dead in the eye and said, You said you always collect. He nodded, cautious. Well, she said, it's time. I'm ready to pay. Mr. Langston stepped aside, and Jasmine walked through the door like she owned the floor. She didn't wait for permission this time. She headed straight to the office, dropped her backpack by the chair, and stood. I want to pay my debt, she said. Langston shut the door and leaned against it. For the first time, he looked unsure. Not shaken, not soft, just thoughtful. You sure? He asked. I'm already paying for it, she said. Might as well get something back. He didn't smile, but something in his face shifted, like respect. You're not ready for what I'm about to hand you, he said. Jasmine looked him dead in the eye. Doesn't matter. Langston walked to the desk, opened the drawer, pulled out a folder. Black this time. He laid it down, then hesitated. You open it, he said. Not me. Jasmine reached for the cover. Her fingers hovered for half a second, then flipped it open. It wasn't what she expected. It wasn't another file on her. It was a file on him. Inside, court documents, press clippings, emails, internal memos from companies he once invested in and then quietly buried. A screenshot of a text conversation. A copy of a whistleblower complaint, with his name redacted in thick black ink, but barely. A full-page printout of a bank transaction. A name circled in red. Maya Steele. Jasmine froze. She'd seen that name before. It was on one of the photos from the locker. The girl with the wild laugh. The one who made Mr. Langston smile. Back when he was someone else. She looked up at him. His face was blank. Who is she? Jasmine asked. Langston sat slowly in the chair across from her. Rested his elbows on the desk. Clasped his hands. She was everything I'm not, he said. She built things. I bought them and broke them. She asked hard questions. I paid people to silence them. And she found out. Jasmine guessed. She found everything out, he said. The room felt heavy. She's still alive? Yes. But quiet now. I made sure of that. Jasmine's throat tightened. You threatened her? No, he said. I gave her what she needed to disappear. She took it. I thought that meant it was over. It's not. He nodded once. No, it's not. She stared down at the folder. Her hands curled into fists. What does this have to do with me? She asked. Langston pushed a small thumb drive across the desk. She's back, he said. Running a blog. Exposing the people I used to work with. She's being careful. Smart. But not smart enough. That drive has a backdoor into the server she's using. Jasmine's stomach dropped. You want me to what? I want you to choose, Langston said. She blinked. Choose what? You're not just paying off your debt anymore. You're standing at a door most people never get to. On one side, comfort, access, safety. You could be set for life. I'll make sure of it. You'll never beg again. Not for milk. Not for mercy. He tapped the folder. On the other side, her. And everything she stands for. The truth. The chaos. The risk. You pick her, you walk away from me. Forever. Jasmine stared at the thumb drive. It looked like nothing. Like a toy. Like a lie pretending to be a gift. You told me I needed to prove myself, she said. I did. This is not what I thought proving myself meant. He nodded. Good. Silence. You really would have used this yourself? She asked. No, he said. I wanted to. But I couldn't. I knew if I touched her again, I'd destroy whatever part of me still remembers who I was. But you. He looked at her like she was a mirror he didn't want to face. You're right on the edge. She looked down at the drive. If she used it, she'd be in. All the way in. She'd never be powerless again. But she'd be his. If she didn't, she might lose the safety net she was building. The protection. The tools. The voice he helped her sharpen. You don't give anyone anything without expecting something back, she said. I expect everything back, he replied. She nodded, then picked up the drive. I'll give you my answer Monday, she said. Langston leaned back. Monday then. She walked out of the house with the drive burning in her pocket. She didn't cry, didn't shake. She went straight to the library, straight to a public computer, opened a private browser, typed in the blog address, thethirdwall.org. There it was. Exposing corruption. Quietly, carefully. Naming names Langston had never said out loud. Telling stories Jasmine could feel were true. And on the About page, a grainy photo of a woman in a red scarf. Same wild laugh. Maya Steele. Jasmine closed the laptop, walked outside, stood in the dark under the broken streetlight, and whispered to no one. I think I just found the person I want to become. Monday came like a punch in the chest. Jasmine hadn't slept. She'd spent the entire weekend walking, across the city, across her own thoughts. She'd held the thumb drive in her hand 100 times, stared at it under lamplight, even set it on the edge of her windowsill just to see how long she could resist throwing it out. But she didn't throw it out. Not because she wanted to use it. Because she wanted to understand what it meant that someone like Mr. Langston thought she could. That morning, she put the drive in her coat pocket. Not her backpack. She wanted to feel its weight. Constantly. Like a stone pressing against her ribs. She walked to his house. No driver. No hesitation. She rang the bell once. He answered immediately, as if he'd been standing just behind the door. No smile. No words. He stepped aside. She walked in. They didn't speak as they entered the office. Jasmine sat down slowly. Langston didn't sit. He leaned against the edge of the desk, arms crossed. Well, he asked. Jasmine reached into her pocket. She pulled out the drive, laid it on the desk. His eyes flicked to it, then to her. And then she did something neither of them expected. She took out a second object. A tiny white USB, her own. What's that? He asked. She slid it beside his. I made a copy, she said. Then I deleted the original from the drive you gave me. Langston's face didn't change. I thought about what you said, she went on. About how this was a test. About what door I'm standing at. She looked up at him, calm. Clear. I'm not walking through either door you gave me. He tilted his head. No. No. I'm building my own. She pushed his drive back toward him. But you're right about one thing, she said. I've seen what power looks like. And I want it. He blinked. Just once. But I'm not going to use this to erase someone, she said. I'm going to use it to find her. She tapped her drive. I'm going to tell Maya Steele what you gave me. Langston's body stiffened. She'll destroy me, he said. She might. He stared at her. You're not scared? I'm terrified, Jasmine said. But you taught me how to hold that in my hands. More silence. The air between them felt sharp, like it might snap. Langston stepped forward, picked up the copied drive, turned it over. Then, softly, he chuckled. God, he said, sitting down. You really are dangerous. No, Jasmine said. Not yet, but I'm getting close. He looked at her like he didn't know whether to be proud or afraid. Why not take the deal? He asked. I would have given you everything. I don't want your everything, she said. I want mine. He exhaled. Long, slow. You know, Maya once stood in this room. Right where you are. Jasmine didn't flinch. She probably made the same choice, she said. Langston nodded. She did. Jasmine stood. I'm not coming back here, she said. He nodded again. I know. She turned to go, but paused in the doorway. There's one last thing, she said. Langston raised an eyebrow. You said I owed you for that milk. He leaned forward slightly. Curious. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small glass bottle. Half full of milk. Warm. No label. Just a plain, screw-top bottle. She set it on the desk. I paid you back. Langston looked at it. And for the first time ever, Jasmine saw him smile. Not the tight-lipped version. A real one. Sad, but real. She walked out and didn't look back. 2 weeks later, Jasmine sat at the edge of a cracked bench in a quiet park. A woman approached, tall and worn but radiant in a way that felt untouched by time. Her red scarf flapped gently in the wind. Maya Steele. She sat beside Jasmine, unspeaking. Jasmine handed her the copied drive. I think you'll want this. Maya looked at it, then looked at her. Where did you get this? From someone who thought I was a tool, Jasmine said. But I'm not. Maya smiled faintly. No, you're a weapon. Jasmine didn't smile back. I'm a builder, she said. And finally, she believed it. Years later, people would ask Jasmine where it all started. She never said a rich man. Never said a glass of milk. She said, it started the day I learned survival isn't the same as living, and that I could be more than what I was given, that I could be dangerous for the right reasons.